Move aside classic paintings and ancient sculptures. This selection of weird and wonderful museums showcases the stranger side of life. No matter how odd the object, there's likely to be a museum somewhere in the world dedicated to it. Whether you want to learn more about mermaids, spies, sex, or a two-headed lamb, there's an extraordinary exhibit dedicated entirely to that. Are you ready? Let's dig in. Shin-Yokohama Ramen Museum. Since 1994, the Shin-Yokohama Ramen Museum has been a noodly paradise, delighting ramen rookies and aficionados alike. Beyond the educational exhibits, the real question here is, whose ramen will you forever dream of, and which ones will haunt your taste buds forever? The Museum of Toilets, India. Meet the Toilet Museum in India, where the spotlight isn't just on sanitation but on an underappreciated household necessity. Founded in 1992 by sanitation reformer Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak, the museum raises awareness of sanitary needs in a way you probably never imagined your weekend museum trip would. The Paris Sewer Museum, France. If you've already marveled at the Museum of Toilets and are still thirsty for more plumbing-related adventures, then the Paris Sewer Museum is your next logical stop. Experience a real sewer pipe tour, because who needs romance at the Eiffel Tower when you can have the thrill of wastewater infrastructure just a short walk away? The Paris sewer system, famously featured in Les Miserables because nothing screams gritty plot tension like an underground labyrinth of sewage. Constructed in 1850 to stop the not-so-glamorous spread of disease, it's an engineering marvel with a network of tunnels that faithfully mimics the streets above. Museums of Sex. The Museum of Sex in the U.S. may sound titillating, but it's all about the science of, human connection. With exhibits detailing the evolution of sexuality, this museum aims to educate, so bring an open mind and maybe some blush control cream. Similar museums can be found in Brazil and Portugal. In Portugal, the Musex Pedagogical Sex Museum is the first museum about sexuality aimed at children, youth, and adults. Okay, that's enough about that. The Ghost Museum, Penang, Malaysia. The Ghost Museum in Penang is brimming with spirits and artifacts fit to make any goosebump enthusiast tingle. It's a quirky but family-friendly haunt featuring sets, costumes, and props. So bring the whole family for an eerie or oddly cheerful photo op. Afterwards, stop by Penang's other unique museums for a well-rounded tour of weirdness. The Hair Museum, Turkey. The Avanos Hair Museum, romantic or slightly unsettling. The display of hair locks from over 16,000 women started with a French girl who left her hair behind as a memento for a Cappadocian pottery master. Cue the copycats, and soon you have a museum of locks that's both a testament to romance and maybe a little boundary challenging. Pooh Land, Seoul, South Korea. In Seoul's Pooh Land, experience the digestive system from top to, well, bottom. Step inside the intestine-themed maze or groove in the Pooh Party Zone to tunes only a digestive tract-themed jukebox could produce. Expect family-friendly 3D photo ops where you can literally ride on a magic Pooh carpet. You'll be dining out on this story for weeks. Victor Wine's Museum of Curiosities, London, England. In a hidden nook of Hackney lies Victor Wine's Museum of Curiosities, where bizarre relics like a two-headed lamb, a mermaid skeleton, and the supposed leg bone of an Irish giant reside alongside an absinthe bar. It's a place for peculiarities, and believe us, you'll find a new one every 5 minutes. Berliner Medizin Historisches Museum. From the mild arthritic knee to the truly grotesque fetal specimens which include rare congenital deformities such as sirenomelia and cyclopia, the Berliner Medizin Historisches Museum houses over 10,000 medical specimens, spanning the mildly cringeworthy to the completely grotesque. With 300 years of medical history on display, it's the museum equivalent of an advanced anatomy class, if that class came with a warning to avoid eating beforehand. The Museum of Broken Relationships, Croatia. The Museum of Broken Relationships takes love's leftovers and displays them with short tales of heartbreak. What began with a filmmaker and sculptor who salvaged their relationship relics is now a crowd-sourced collection of emotional artifacts. If you've got old keepsakes and unresolved issues, they might just want your donation. Spam Museum, Austin, Minnesota. For those who love a good canned meat, the Spam Museum in Austin, Minnesota celebrates the iconic block of pork with all the Spam-themed displays and trivia you didn't know you needed. Test your height in Spam cans and come prepared for an unexpected amount of passion for processed meat. Madame Tussauds London houses more than wax figures of famous sports, music, and film stars. This wax museum has been captivating visitors since Marie Tussaud set up shop in 1835. More than 250 wax figures stand ready for selfies, from Hollywood royalty to historical heavyweights, and real and historical artifacts from criminals in the Chamber of Horrors. If wax figures aren't enough, the archive has real memorabilia and letters from notable people, including Tussaud herself. Snorkel down to the Cancun Underwater Museum of Art, where sculptures serve both as art and artificial reef. British sculptor Jason DeCaires-Taylor crafted these pieces to be enjoyed up close by divers. So grab some fins and dive into art with a splash of environmental activism. Badu Museum, Canada. The Badu Museum in Canada tells 4,000 years of history, one pair of shoes at a time. From ancient sandals to today's high-tech sneakers, this museum laces together footwear stories that go the extra mile. The Salt and Pepper Shaker Museum in Tennessee. What began as Andrea Ludden's innocent salt and pepper shaker hobby soon got a little out of hand. When her husband finally reached his last grain of salt, she dreamed up a new solution. And the Salt and Pepper Shaker Museum was born. Now, instead of just a few hundred shakers crowding their shelves, the Tennessee Museum proudly displays over 20,000 pairs in every shape, size, and seasoning style you could imagine. Phological Museum, Reykjavik, Iceland. Home to nearly 300 phallic specimens from various species, including a real human penis and a phallus from a blue whale so big we can't even fit it on the screen. Iceland's Phological Museum is not for the faint-hearted, but a one-of-a-kind experience nonetheless. The National Pooh Museum, England. The National Pooh Museum hopes to educate and break the taboos surrounding this natural act. It has animal and human poo on display in resin spheres, and visitors can interact with it by holding it. Don't worry, it's not messy. The museum hopes to educate people about biology and sanitation, and hopes to eventually receive donations from celebrities. Wow! The Museum of Bad Art, Boston, Massachusetts. The slogan of this museum in a Boston, Massachusetts suburb says it all: art too bad to be ignored. This is a small museum that makes a big impact, proudly showcasing 40 to 50 truly spectacularly bad works of art at any given time. The tongue-in-cheek descriptions explaining how these masterpieces came to be, and just what makes them so gloriously awful, are easily worth the $5 admission. Feast your eyes on portraits featuring neon-colored faces, landscapes painted in stomach-turning shades of puke green, and yes, even a scene of Jesus chilling with an organist. Be sure to check out the museum's nude selection. Warning, this art can't be unseen. The Museum of the Weird, Austin, Texas. The Museum of the Weird feels like it was plucked straight out of a 19th century curiosity shop. Among its treasures you'll find mermaids. The less you question their authenticity, the better. Mummies that have definitely seen better days. And wax figures that seem to give you a look that says, "What are you doing here?" And then there's the Minnesota Iceman, who is preserved in ice, possibly for his own protection. Or maybe for ours. Who can say? International Spy Museum, Washington, D.C. At the International Spy Museum, embark on a mission to test your spy skills. Here, everyone's undercover with a secret identity, dodging detection while cracking codes. Prepare to sneak, crawl, and gather intel, then see if you've got what it takes to debrief like Bond. What did you think about these weird and wonderful museums? Did we miss any? We'd like to know your favorite. Let us know in the comments.